Good morning, everybody. Um, I usually don't hop on podcasts. Well, I've been in MIA because I've been on the other podcasts, making some points, trying to participate in conversations, things like that, right? So I was watching a podcast last night, right? And I'll donate some super chats, and I'll go ahead and make my 2 cents known, at least to contribute to the conversation, because I don't know, maybe there's a part of me that just gets off on it. I don't know, whatever. um but what I will say is that nothing frustrates me more than kind of being misunderstood, right? I mean, I don't know. It maybe it's in like it's a serious ick. Like I can write something or make a declarative statement, and then that declarative statement is completely taken out of context, and the person responding to my super chat or my statement hears and responds to only what they want to hear and respond to, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna play for you the context. I'm not gonna keep up here for too long. I don't want to go on some I don't know, some crazy rant, but it just irks me, and I felt I had to at least express myself so that I can express to anyone that usually watches either my podcast or some other podcast that sometimes I'm on. And I wanted to at least provide a greater amount of awareness and context into having discussions between men and women about relationships, about monogamy, about commitment, about a whole plethora of things, right? So I don't want to keep you guys I don't want to keep you guys for too long. Give me a minute. Let's see. Let's start with the actual beginning.
Only because that was like back to back comments, right? The men who impose that on other men are men who have the luxury of. Only because that was like back to.
All right, so let me just read to you my super chat since where I clipped this video, I clipped it after they actually read my super chat, so I can get more of the answer to my super chat, so I can actually so you can have the full context. So let me just read it to you. Monogamy is not found in a man's biology, and it never was. Monogamy is an attempt for a man to control his biological instincts to appease one woman's ego. Now, I find this to be true about not only the biology aspect, um, but what men do in order to appease one woman's ego. Um, if you think about it, women, when you're in a relationship or even when you're dating, a woman's ego is that she requires your full and undivided attention, sexual attention, right? Which means that I'm pretty sure you've heard scrutiny about you checking out some other girl's ass, checking out some other girl's whatever, checking out liking a picture on Instagram or whatever dating app that's hot these days. There's always going to be a conflict with women if they consciously know and can see that you were sexually attracted to some other female other than them, right? So that's an ego thing. The thing is, men typically don't get that kind of same ick. I mean, they can check out Brad Pitt or Bradley Cooper or whatever Brad you want. They can lust after different men, but we don't feel some kind of way about it to say, "What are you doing checking out some other dude's pecs or what have you?" We understand that that a person can be attracted more than to more than one person other than their main spouse or husband or wife or what have you. The difference is the ego. The level of ego that women have is completely different than the ego that men have. Men have ego as far as, cars, houses, money, muscles, whatever. It's because it's kind of a competition, or can be at sometimes, right? Or what kind of girl we got. There can be competition within that too. My girl's finer than yours. She does this, yours doesn't. But the understanding is that women's ego is very sensitive and women are very insecure. So, in order to provide security, a man has to try and fight his biological instincts in order to appease one woman's ego. Now, that's it. So, the statement is about biology. Man is not built with the monogamous gene. Number one, if there was some pill we can take or some elixir we can drink, we would have drunk it. If there was some pill we can take, we could take it in order to maintain a healthy marriage or relationship. If it means that if I take this magic pill or these magic beans or eat this magic food, that I can be sexually attracted to my primary spouse and no one else, we would do such a thing. I mean, first of all, you'd have your next billionaire, and second of all, we on behalf of trying to be better men, because men are always on the road to self-improvement, we would consider this self-improvement. Instead, what we find is that in our biology, monogamy does not exist. It does not exist in anyone's DNA. There is no monogamy gene. There's only the practice, which is more sociological and not biological. So my argument is about man's biology, but the problem is that the response that I'm getting on this panel is a sociological answer, a sociological argument to be made. I'm not making a sociological argument. I'm making a biological statement in which it needs to be understood before moving on to the sociological argument. But that gets missed and misinterpreted by women because women do not want to address the facts. What they want to address are their feelings about it. So she makes a sociological argument to a biological statement, and that's what we're listening to here.
Back comments, right? The men who impose that on other men are men who have the luxury of practicing it regardless. And so I think that's really important to factor in when making these statements.
Okay. That's wild.
What did you say, Enoch? It went over my head.
The men.
Let me pause it right here. From right here, she says, "What did you just say, Inaz? That went over my head." So the reason it went over her head is because what she is saying is something completely different than what I've written. When you read my statement, it is a biological, about a man's biological imperative, what you are built with, the hardware. What Inaz is saying is arguing about software, about the sociological aspect. Men who can practice monogamy are on the upper echelons of manhood or something like that. That's a sociological argument to a biological statement. So let's just go ahead and continue. Hang on.
Men who impose monogamy are the upper, like highest, most upper echelon of men onto all of the men that fall below them on the hierarchy, right? Mm-hmm. They still have the luxury of practicing monogamy while looking down on others and shaming them for practicing monogamy, right?
Practicing polygamy. Wow.
Polygamy. That, yeah.
Sorry. Yes, you're right. It's.
So again, the argument, the men who practice monogamy are the upper echelons of whatever, whether it be wealth, high value, something like that. While shaming, like the upper echelons of men get to practice polygamy, while shaming lower echelons of men of shaming them into monogamy or something like that. Imposing, and her argument is about a social hierarchy of men that get to dictate to the lower echelon of men monogamy, saying that monogamy is imposed from one man to another. The problem is that's not the super chat. That's not addressing the biology of men, of how men are built. and what men are doing in the name of monogamy, which is an attempt for a man to control his biological instincts to appease one woman's ego. So what she's saying, what she has said, what everyone has contributed to this answer has nothing to do with my super chat. It doesn't address the biology. It doesn't address a woman's the fact that a man is trying to struggle with his biological instincts in order to appease the ego of one woman, the one woman he's dating, the one woman he's courting, the one woman that's supposed to be the primary woman in focus of all of his attention, whether it be sexual or otherwise. So let's go into the second version of this. And let's see. This is a series. Let's try this one here.
The form of like.
So this is a continuation, a 1 minute clip of the continuation of the answer that she's trying to provide. Again, sociological answer to a biological statement.
Control.
So social control, really, to create a certain amount of chaos because.
Social control. I'm trying. I'm trying. Okay. So I think what they're trying to address is maybe that. Let me try the second sentence. Monogamy is an attempt for a man to control his biological instincts to appease one woman's ego. I think what they're answering is monogamy is an attempt for a man to control his biological instincts. What they seem to be answering is a different statement about men controlling other men, while my statement is about one man and how one man is built. Not only is one man built that way, all men are built that way. No one has the monogamy gene. So when I say a man's, right? Monogamy is not found in a man's biology, and it never was. If you notice about the answer and about the response, nobody is either debating or questioning that as a statement. But the problem is that they ignore this statement and go to the second sentence, which is monogamy is an attempt for a man to control his biological instincts to appease one woman's ego. That is what men do. That is what one man will do for his woman. They're not addressing this either. What they're addressing is the word control, and maybe they're not addressing the biology. They're not addressing the actual damn super chat. So I don't know what they're talking about, and neither will you when I play the rest of this thing.
It kind of goes to like the baby deletion kind of aspect, where the people who are making these decisions for people who aren't able to make their own decisions are people who will always have access to it. There's a certain level that you can reach in society where the rules don't necessarily apply to you. And so when we're making these statements, I think that's really important to factor in, right? That regardless of who's setting these standards for greater society, that those.
I mean, you'll have to forgive me, right? I mean, you'll have to forgive my frustration, because in real time, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to the response, and not a damn word has anything to do with anything I wrote. None of it. Men who set the standards for society. It's a sociological argument to a biological statement, and it just really pissed me off. So I get it. You know, I mean, some people misinterpret. I mean, I wrote what I wrote. I mean, they read it. It's still up here. I mean, I just don't understand how someone can just not read it again and then address the biological statement that I made rather than make some sociological argument that doesn't make sense. I mean, we're talking about the baby deletion. We're talking about social order. We're talking about everything but my super chat.
Those people don't follow the rules themselves.
And proof of which is, like, if you look at like Epstein Island or some crazy like that. They out here existing, doing the most perverted things possible, and then telling us that the only thing you can do is minority, right? Well, you're going to jail for committing that crime. Or
and now we're talking. Now I don't know how we got. How the hell? I don't know how he got to Epstein. I I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't understand. How do we go from my biological statement about men and how they're built to Epstein? Um I mean, I throw my phone, but my phone is too valuable to me. I can't break my computer monitor. I can't reach in and strangle somebody and tell them to I I I, I can just play the video. I'll play it again. It's only a minute long, and just let you hear.
Bill Clinton getting domed up in his office, or Jeff Bezos.
The form of like
control.
So
I'm going to play this again in its entirety so you can get the full context.
the form of like
Control.
social control, really, to create a certain amount of chaos, because it kind of goes to like the baby deletion kind of aspect, where the people who are making these decisions for people who aren't able to make their own decisions are people who will always have access to it. There's a certain level that you can reach in society where the rules don't necessarily apply to you. And so when we're making these statements, I think that's really important to factor in, right? That regardless of who's setting these standards for greater society, that those people don't follow the rules themselves.
And proof of which is, like, if you look at like Epstein Island or some crazy like that, they out here existing, doing the most perverted things possible, and then telling us that the only thing you can do is minority, right? Well, you're going to jail for committing that crime. Or Bill Clinton getting domed up in his office, or Jeff.
Okay, so okay. So because they completely whiffed this super chat, because they whiffed it, because they didn't understand it, because they didn't address it, because they didn't mention anything at all, I put up another super chat. I'll you know what? Let me just I clipped that too. So let me just let me just let you see for yourself. I said try this just this that's what the hell. Uh let's see. Let's see.
Enter Black Dragon, $2. Inaj, you want to try addressing the words of on my super chat?
Yeah, I'll do it. So I heard what he said, right? And I understand.
Okay. Just right here. I'm very forgiving. I have I was look. So I put up another super chat. Inaz, do you want to try addressing the words on my super chat? That's what I wrote. That I mean, plain is day. You have to all have seen and heard that none of what they were talking about addresses my super chat at all, especially when it comes to biology. It doesn't. So I'm trying. I said, hey, look, just hey, let me put in $2 and just like, hey, you want to just address you want to address the words on my super chat? I mean, it was an opportunity. It's just let's try. Let's round two. Just to try it. And I hope that and if you when I play this, you will understand just how frustrating it was for me to hear another sociological answer to a biological statement. Let's try this again.
Understood what he was saying about appeasing one woman's ego.
Did you hear that? I heard what he was saying about appeasing one woman's ego. The problem with so the problem is she didn't understand the entire damn super chat and nobody did. Because my super chat was about a man's biology and how he comes into the world and how he goes from boyhood to manhood and how monogamy is nowhere a part of that, right? It's not a part of any man's biology, but it is a part of sociology. I'm not making a sociological argument, but she is. So the problem is and you'll hear it again. I'm going to rewind a little bit. She heard only what she understood or chose to understand. She didn't understand everything. She only understood a fraction of a sentence, appeasing one woman's ego, which means she misunderstood the entire super chat because it was about a man's biology. So what she is answering is the mention of a woman on behalf of a sociological argument about men and women when the super chat was talking about a man's biology and what he does in order to fight his own biological instincts to appease the ego of one woman. She doesn't address the ego of one woman. She doesn't. She just addresses only what she can understand, only what any of them can understand. And I'm not calling like everyone, dumb or stupid or whatever. But what I'm saying is this is a problem when we have a serious misunderstanding and miscommunication of words that are plainly written on the screen, but only a fraction of it is acknowledged and understood and responded to.
Enter Black Dragon, $2. Inaj, you want to try addressing the words of my super chat?
Yeah, I'll do it. So I heard what he said, right? And I understood what he was saying about appeasing one woman's ego, right? But if we're really honest, the men really are the leaders of society. You get to control how big or out of hand a woman's ego is in the earlier stages.
So
right? You don't have to settle for appeasing one woman's ego. I think really what's happened in terms of like this hierarchy of the men on the top of the totem pole dictating how to maneuver or what defines manhood on the lower spectrums of the totem pole, you've allowed somebody else to define you and how you move.
So this is a failure. This is a failure of number. This is the second time. But it points, okay, it points to me, it tells me, it tells me that when I write a complete thought, that only a fraction of it is understood or only if I give you, let's just say this, if I give you a meal or food, okay, it's called food for thought, right? There's an expression called food for thought. The problem is you're not eating your vegetables and your potatoes. You're only choosing like maybe the bread. And think that you and then want to look at me talking about, yeah, I ate a whole meal. That's what you're responding. That's what this is. And that's what the response is. It was a response to a fraction of everything that I wrote in that super chat, $5. It was a waste of $5 if I ever had it. Not really a waste because I said what I said and it was actually true. But the problem is no one on this panel will address it. You're making a sociological argument to a biological statement, and I cannot express this enough. Now, I could have gone broke with super chats trying to, but I just didn't. So here we are. I'll play it one more time in its entirety. This is the second attempt to try and I don't know.
Enter Black Dragon, $2. Inaj, you want to try addressing the words of my on my super chat?
Yeah, I'll do it. So I heard what he said, right? And I understood what he was saying about appeasing one woman's ego.
The reason I paused it there, is because this is exactly what you just heard in those three. That was me. What you just heard in those like 3 milliseconds is I understand about appeasing one woman's ego. That is what she understood. She did not understand the entire super chat. This tells me that the answer that she's trying to provide addresses something that is not on the super chat. It is something completely different. It is not has nothing to do with man's biology and how men move and how they have been moving since the dawn early times. So let's try it again. I just had to point that out. When we're having serious conversations, when men try to have a serious conversation with women, what we are witnessing is selective hearing. What we are witnessing is I'm going to filter out everything that I may or may not agree with, but this one trigger or this piece of logic, this piece of perception of a sociological argument that he's trying to make is something that I can run with. And I'm going to respond accordingly just to that piece, just to the bread, not any of the vegetables, not any of the potatoes, not any of the dessert, just the bread.
Enter Black Dragon, $2. Inaj, you want to try addressing the words of my on my super chat?
Yeah, I'll do it. So I heard what he said, right? And I understood what he was saying about appeasing one woman's ego, right? But if we're really honest, the men really are the leaders of society. You get to control how big or out of hand a woman's ego is in the earlier stages, right? You don't have to settle for appeasing one woman's ego. I think really what's happened in terms of like this hierarchy of the men on the top of the totem pole dictating how to maneuver or what defines manhood on the lower spectrums of the totem pole, you've allowed somebody else to define you and how you move, right?
Enter Black Dragon.
All right, so there's another video, a continued answer to this that I clipped just to
right. That the moment.
So I'm gonna play this in its entirety, and then I'll pause it where I need to pause it. If I need to pause it, just so you can get the full context. It's a continuation of the same answer that she's given. Let's go ahead and hear it.
Right. That the moment we step out of that and start to operate in a more authentic way in our own particular value systems, that no longer really applies to you, because men who are not at the top of that totem pole are still operating from a standpoint of not having to appease not just one woman's ego, but any woman's ego, right? For better or worse. Sure, some women call that man a narcissist. Sometimes he's emotionally available, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, there are men out there who don't sit at the top, who do decide for themselves the way that they want to live. So it really is a personal decision. And when you have multiple people making the same personal decision, you now build a community that's able to build together based off of shared values instead of dictated values.
She said what she said.
Okay, let's go to the.
So I'm not going to address the clapping or the applause or what have you, because all of it is about a sociological point that was made to a biological statement, right? So it's again, it is a failure. It is a failure of understanding a man's biology and biological nature. I am talking about hardware. They are talking about software. And if you don't understand hardware, then you don't understand software either. You're skipping over one piece of logic and taking another piece of logic and then interpreting as something else that, okay, totem pole and hierarchy of men. And then at the end, she said what yeah, I heard what she said. It had nothing to do with my super chat. I didn't want to get too carried away. I apologize for that. But it's it's frustrating. Okay, I will express to you, whoever is watching, whoever's listening, that it is frustrating. It is maddening that no one on this panel has addressed my point at all. My point wasn't about appeasing one woman's ego. That was about the point was about monogamy and how men are not built with any type of biological makeup to practice monogamy. And furthermore, her point was a sociological point about men who do practice monogamy and men who do not, without addressing the biological factor of, hey, no man is built to practice monogamy. It is only to appease the ego of one said woman. No, I don't want to. I don't want to shame an entire panel because I believe that they misinterpreted everything I just wrote, or even my follow up was to say, hey, why don't you just address the actual words on the super chat, because none of it's about appeasing. It's what she understood rather than understanding. The difference is what she understood versus understanding what I said and what was being said. So I come up, I'm here now to clean it all up and address it and just leave it be. But what I will say is that this happens in these types of discussions all the time. I mean, it'd be nice if were able to come up on a panel, hey, let me explain exactly what I said and why I said it, and what you are saying is completely different than what I said. So, we have the only vehicle we have during these lives are going to be the super chats, and you can only fit so many words in a super chat. So what I write is explicitly clear. If it is not explicitly clear, I mean, I would appreciate a shout out or a, hey, I just don't understand what you mean, but what I'm getting is I understand only a piece of what you said, and I'm going to extrapolate this whole other argument, sociological argument, to your biological factor that you made, that statement that you made, which has nothing to do with what I wrote. So, 35 minutes into this, I've played all the videos that I clipped out just to give you all the full context of of what irked me. Now, do mind you, I didn't. It's not like I lost sleep over this. It's not like I was tossing and turning, like she didn't understand it. It's not like that. But I just felt like, hey, I'm in my podcast room, which is my office. I have my microphone and my headset. Why not just, hey, just clip what bothered you, put it up on a video, let everybody see what you were writing about in its full context, let everybody see the answer, let everybody decide for themselves what it is and what it wasn't, who's right, who's wrong, whatever, or if you agree or disagree. It doesn't matter, but I believe that full context is warranted, especially when I'm writing something that people should address. So that's my little soapbox. But believe you me, it was it irked me. I'm just not gonna lie. It really did it really did irk me, and I just needed to come up here and kind of clear the air and clear my conscience and just kind of sort of um make it known. I don't want it to be some ugly back and forth or anything like that, but it just bothers me that when I try and convey like a simple statement of the matter or statement of fact, that we have miscommunication and misunderstanding, and it wasn't just her. It looks like it was everyone up there. It's not like it's like, well, hey, that's not what he said, and why are you only addressing the tail end piece? Like none of that was caught, right? Nobody caught that. So I'm catching it, I'm showing it to you, and I'm just, I'm moving on with life. I got other things. But yeah, I just think it's important for me to point this out because when we have these conversations, context is miss and statements are misunderstood. So I'm just hoping everybody has a good Monday. I got my coffee, so I'm good. And I'll hope to join another panel pretty soon. And when I do, I'll send out the link so you can watch it and see what you make sense of it. And I hope to catch everyone next time. I'm gonna do a personal update later on today on my personal relationships, interracial dating, things like that. I'm in an interracial relationship again. Um, she's also my girlfriend now. We're dating. Also, let me know comments and feedback. We actually did a podcast together, pretty much. So you've seen her. She spoke. You heard her speak. So just kind of let me know feedback, what have you, and let me know what's up. I may do another podcast where she uses her telephone and joins and some stuff like that because I can probably send her a link and then have us communicate and talk a bunch of smack and then go from there. So I hope everyone has a good Monday morning. Get your coffee if you haven't, because I know people who just weirded out and stressed out because they haven't had their caffeine. Also, yeah, just tune in for my podcast. I'll try and have more guests up here. If not, my girlfriend, some other women that I know to get their perspective on their relationships and what they've been through and whatnot. But I hope everyone has a blessed day, and I shall see y'all next time.